Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles, and we are on the Type 88 show, where we talk to people about how they turn their dreams into reality. And this guy, when I met him, he was a dream director. And I know he was one before that, and I know he still is one, regardless of his job, because his life and is about helping people with their passion, helping people with their dreams, and he just doesn't stop. So if you're looking for a shining example of someone who doesn't stop dreaming and makes dreams a reality and helps others with theirs, we got him right here. So I got Lamarr Womble on the Type 88 show. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what up? What up? How's everybody feeling? Thank you for having me, bro. Yeah, pleasure to be here, and thank you for that introduction because yeah, I mean that's literally what I do and have been doing for. I mean, at least like you said, like I've always had my hand in it, but ever since I've been in New York, for sure, for the last since 2013, I feel like my life has really been focused on like helping others get after their dreams and I was doing that work before, but really got deep into it as a dream director along with all the other things that I've done since. So yeah, man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, uh you're definitely welcome here. And as when I met you, you just kind of illuminated, like people felt your I was like, yo, I feel this guy's energy. Like I just feel the passion. And then that was just something you just always, and that it ended up being something you always talked about too, which was
Yeah.
crazy. And I was like, so like maybe let's bring it back just a little bit before we go into what you do now and how you're, shining light on the world.
Yeah.
But how did you like where did you grow up, and where did you even like find your passion?
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and so I think whenever I meet people in New York and I tell them I'm from Nebraska, they're like, "What? Like, oh snap! Like, I didn't know there was black folks out there." You know what I mean? Like, standard question. Like, I get that literally every single time. And so, grew up there. My dad was in the military, so that's how we ended up there. It was partially my dad was stationed, well, he was in the military, and that was just one of the places that he got sent. But also, the other reason we ended up in Nebraska is my brother was actually born with a physical disability. And so, the reason we went to Nebraska is because the hospitals there for children were some of the best in the country. And so, they sent him there so that my brother could get some of the best hospital treatment in the world for what he had. And so, that's how we ended up in Nebraska. And so grew up there starting in third grade, went to through elementary, middle school, high school, and college there as well. So yeah, that's where I grew up, and that's where I also were. Um, I started tapping into passion. I think for the
Yeah.
first time and understanding what it was, and I felt it before I understood what it was. So have you ever heard of DECA before? Like FBLA, DECA, like these business clubs?
No, no.
Okay. So in high school, I was involved in this business club called DECA, basically, and it's like marketing club for high school students. And in that, my senior year, I had an opportunity to work with two of my guys, and we created this project called Civic Consciousness. And basically, what our job was to go out into the community and make an impact on some community organization. And so we chose this youth center in a predominantly Black part of Omaha, where we went and did like tutoring, mentoring. We raised all kinds of money. We raised about $8,000. We had all these massive events for them all over the city.
Awesome.
And that was like really the first time that I, throughout that project, I was like discovering that, oh, like I have skill, like I'm building up capacity to create and make and do things, and building up skills to actually create something when I get done. I didn't know it when I was doing it. I mean, that's more of a reflection. But like at the end of that year, we ended up winning first place in the state conference, and we went to the national conference and we got top 16 at nationals out of like 350 projects.
Oh, wow.
So in that moment, I was like, oh, like, you have something that says that you can change the world at a young age, right? So at that moment, I didn't realize I was so passionate about those things. But like when we ended up winning at the state conference, I was like crying, like I was overwhelmed with a lot of emotion. And I think that was probably the first time that I'd ever like felt passion and felt passionate,
Wow.
you know what I mean? For the effort and work that I had put in. And so, yeah, so when when I talk to people about passion, like I'm not talking about just like doing what you love. Like I'm literally talking about things that make you emotional,
Yeah.
that you connect to, that puts you in a state of like, extreme happiness, extreme sadness to where you want to do something about it. But that's what I talk about when I talk about passion, is like literally the feelings of it.
Now that's amazing. So you kind of stepped into this contest and then you had a partner, which is I always say so important to just have
Yep.
someone
Two
who you
partners.
two partners. So shout out to them.
Yep.
Just to kind of have someone who got your back in anything that you're doing, whether you're just talking to them, whether they're being kind of like your muse or they're just being your sponge or just working with you. You
Yep.
had that, and then you saw it align rather quickly, because a lot of people like they bump their head a lot, and I'm sure you did too along the way in many different ways. But like you kind of jump into this contest and you blow it out the park, and like
Yeah.
and then you kind of felt that moment like wow, like I'm really living my purpose right here.
Yeah.
That's just
And
crazy.
listen, man, like you got to think like this is 2000. This is 2001.
Yeah,
Like, ain't no people ain't on the internet talking about purpose and passion and like follow your dreams and shit like that. Like, that's not even happening.
I know.
Like it was way more practical than that. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, hey, here's what happened. I was playing basketball for 2 years. Going into my JV year of high school, I quit the basketball team because I thought I was going to get cut. So I stopped playing basketball my junior year. I took a step back. I was like, what else do I have interest in? I wasn't really sure, but my dad, even though he was in the military, he was engaged in all kinds of like business stuff, right? So my dad did like vending machines. He did eBay sales. He did shoes and jerseys on eBay. He was hustling, right? He did like
Yeah, yeah.
he
He
did
was
a
ahead of his time because now everybody
exactly,
does that.
exactly, right. And so he did a travel agency, like all this stuff. And so I was kind of like, oh, like maybe business might be something I'm interested in as well. So that's why I joined the club in the first place,
Mm.
right? Because I was like, well, if basketball's not it, I was in ROTC at one point. I was like, I don't want to go to the military, so I'm not going to do that. Let me try and dive into this business thing, and it exposed me to public speaking, working with young people, working in the community, marketing, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, so when I did that my senior year, then I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go to college for business.
Bro, you know what you just said, like having a dad that's just out there doing things and like trying and failing and making things happen, like doing eBay like 20 years ago.
And
Like
he
I know,
failed, bro. Like he failed.
but just seeing that firsthand, I always say like my dad never really had to sit me down and be like, David, you know, your dreams, they're so important. You should
Right,
definitely work hard. I just saw him work hard, and I
right.
saw him go to drop me off at work at school, give me like a 5 spot, and then I'd see him for an hour in between. We go to the
Yep.
diner, and then he'd be off to Broadway to go
Yeah.
play music after he taught for 9 hours in a
Oh,
day.
your dad's a teacher?
Yeah, yeah. So he's a
Oh,
music
that's
teacher
incredible.
and a professional musician.
So you literally watched him do both for years.
I saw him do the 9 to 5 what people a lot of people frown upon if they
Right.
have a dream. It's like one or the other. He
Nah,
was able to mesh both.
you got to.
He loved music, he taught music, and then he went out and did his dream by playing at a professional level with the best of the best, like every
Yeah.
night. Damn Yankees, Beauty and the Beast, Wicked. Like I would go down in the basement, I would see all the posters. They weren't shows that he went to. They were shows that he were. was part of.
He was in.
He's
You
cool
know
with
what I
it.
love about that, Noodles, is that like, and I think this is why we vibe. And I said this before we were started recording and just we were chatting, is that like everybody thinks that when you pursue your dreams, that you have to be Beyonce, or that you have to be Gary Vaynerchuk, or that you have to be, in my case, Tony Robbins or Eric, the hip hop preacher. Like everyone thinks because if you're pursuing this unique path to your life, career, job, creative passion, whatever it is, everyone thinks that you have to like reach, you have to be number one in order to do that. And like, you don't. And that's what fools need to understand is that like, you don't have to be Beyonce. You can be the backup singer, right? You can be the teacher that teaches by day and moonlights as a guitar player and still live your dream all the same.
Yep.
And so we all need to get very clear on like, is it fame that we want? Do we want recognition? Do we want money? Or do we want to live our dream?
Yeah.
And so people have to decide for themselves, because I'm not mad at you if you want fame and fortune and all that stuff. I'm mad about that. Right. But also
Yeah.
you can live your dream without any of that stuff
It's so true.
and live a good life
Yeah.
and provide for your family.
It's so real, man. Yeah. Like my dad, he does not have social media. So like his digital footprint is very light,
Right.
but his world in terms of where his world, he's left an impact. I've had so many people come up to me, "Yo, that's your dad. He changed my life. He's the reason why I rap."
That's
Meanwhile,
it.
my dad never rapped.
Right.
The fact that he got them into music or trumpet, he made them love trumpet at like age 9 or 10 or whatever, and they're like,
Yeah.
he just took me there, and I wouldn't have been able to find my love for music without him. And now I'm doing this, and like I've had so many people just stop me and thank me because I'm like, oh man, like, and it's amazing, bro, and it's so true. Like, I try to point out to people too. I'm like, did you ever watch the end of a Netflix show? I know they kind of say skip credits, but bro, there's like 2,000 people
So many people
that are doing their thing.
No, I think about that every time at the end of a movie. I'm like, yo, who the hell are all these people that are doing, like, how is this many people making part of this, making this movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so true. I'm like, I tell young kids, because it's true. A lot of people, even when I say kids, any age,
right,
who they may want to be Gary V or whatever, or Beyonce, whatever, and those are role models in their industries, right? But I'm like, yo, watch the end of your favorite movie, pause it, and find someone who did graphics,
right,
and like look them up. They exist somewhere.
yep,
And like you'd be surprised by just reaching out. And it's like it's very micro, but it's like, yo, you could reach out to Brian Kong or whatever his name is,
yeah,
who went to school in Memphis. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
he probably will respond to you quicker than Beyonce and
absolutely.
be like, yo, look, I
Exactly.
did this, and this, but then I busted my ass for 15 years. And
Yeah,
like
no,
that's
man,
how
that's awesome advice. You know what? I think about that often, but that's really great advice to give to a kid.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So, I mean, I just think about that a lot because, you know, people and you know what, let me take that back. I don't want to say people. I want to be very
Yeah.
specific when I talk. I think sometimes parents can be very maybe too practical. I think sometimes students and friends of students can be straight up just haters, right? I think sometimes like girlfriends and boyfriends, partners sometimes may not understand, so they're skeptical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think that when you're in these such scenarios and you have a dream, like ultimately you just need to like continue to lay the groundwork and get the education that you need to go get what it is that you want, so that whatever insecurities that may be coming up from either people that are around you or maybe things from your past that making you believe like you can't do it, right? You need to be able to like answer one of those, each of those insecurities with something that will give you a step forward, a step in the right direction, so
Yeah,
that you can like strike those insecurities off as you build towards this thing.
that's real. I actually do a lesson with kids anytime I do my poetry program, and I make them come up with a positive adjective that starts with the first letter of their name. So
Mm,
like, so like Lamar, it'd be like, I don't know, loving Lamar, or
yeah,
like learning Lamar. And
yeah,
I try to tell them, I'm like, you're gonna be. I was like, how many people do you think that I've met in my life?
right.
And they're like, I don't know, a few hundred. I'm like, no, thousands of people.
Thousands,
I've
right.
met thousands of people. And I was like, do you think everything that they've all said has been good? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, the importance of this game is it's more than a game. I want you to remember who you are. So no
Mm,
matter what anyone says to you, and I'm like, who plays Fortnite or who plays whatever? And I was like, do you know what armor is? And they're like, yeah, yeah, it protects you. And I'm like, you need to do that with yourself. You know what I mean?
mm,
And I know it's going to be hard. Someone may leave a comment like, "Oh, you're not going to be a gamer. Oh, you don't got style and you want to
right.
be." And I was like, "But the key, it's going to be hard, but you got to also play hard and remember who you are during these times." And they're
That's
like,
right.
"Yeah, yeah,
Remember who you are, bro.
right?
Yes. And I think, to your point, I think one of the things I wanted to share with you, I talk when I go out and do my talks. I talk mostly to high school students as well. Like, we do a lot of work with youth. That's how we connected originally. But I do this thing, and I wanted to share this with you, called the power triangle, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And so inside of the power triangle is what it takes to become the greatest version of yourself, right? The best version of you. And the first thing on that triangle is kind of like pushing through your challenge and your mindset, or whatever your trauma has been, right? Learning how to break through some of these challenges. So that's one. Bottom left corner. The top is finding your passion, right? Doing work that you love, and helping others do things that they love. And then the bottom right corner triangle piece is leading self. And a lot of people look at me funny when I say leading self, because I talk at a lot of leadership conferences, and leadership conferences are like all these kids that are like gung-ho about like leadership, and not that they don't want to be leaders, but like the almost the bigger game is like college resume, how's it look, what title do I have? And so I talked to a lot of students about leading self, and leading self is exactly what you're talking about, which is how can you be a student leader for other students if you don't even know who you are? Right. And so at these conferences, we spend so much time talking to students about how they can lead, but we talk to 16-year-old kids that have no idea who they are, and they're in the most insecure moment in their lives in high school,
right,
right? And they're I was just telling these kids on Friday, some of y'all want to be down so bad that you be around people that have nothing in common with you, but you just want to be down, so you be rolling with them. You know what I mean? And so you got to know who you are first, so that when the storm comes, when someone brings you down, as you said, that like you can live inside of your values. And that's kind of how I
yeah,
teach
yeah,
it. Is I love that the acronym with their name, and like identifying like what is the thing that is of me.
yep,
But then the other side of that is like discovering what your values are, and you can look at your values and be like, and this is for anybody, not just kids. If my action and my values aren't aligned, then there's something wrong with what I'm doing.
mm,
And it's a little complex for teenagers,
oh
but they
yeah,
get it. They get it.
yeah,
But that's the thing, is like getting to know yourself deeply, so that you can't be moved by anything when the storm comes, right? Like if you
yeah,
don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Like that's what
yeah,
that means.
yeah, man, bro. That's that triangle. That that's fire. And
Yeah. So,
and what
and
you
I
said,
love that you do that.
yeah, and bro, you actually said the next one was an acrostic. We put their name going down, and then they put something for every letter of their
Mm-hmm.
name, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like I know you're more than just loving Lamar.
Right.
Let's do something for L. And then kids end up doing it for their last name. I'm like, oh, I didn't even ask you to do that, but and they're like, look, and So it's cool to see. And I was like, yo, put this somewhere where you remember it. And I even have students that are like, I don't even need to look at it. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm
Because
talking
they
about.
know, like,
You
this is
know,
who I am. I love that. And listen, man, you know how it is this day and age too.
bro. Yeah.
And I think we connect on, you know, I I've never been a chaser. Like I'm not chasing anybody for fame or for fortune, or I'm not trying to be around people because they got clout. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. And I think you're very similar in that regard. And I think sometimes people can be surprised that that we may not be further along than we are, or I don't know. I feel like that might be true for you as well, but like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I just don't care. So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't spend my time like trying to chase stuff like that. Like, I spend my time just doing shit I want to do.
Yeah.
You
Real
know?
shit.
Yeah.
No, it's real. Like, it's crazy. I had a convo with my friend's father, who was basically like, Dave, because just to kind of give a little background, they're like friends with Teddy Atlas, who's like, he runs a podcast.
Boxer, right?
He trained Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like a sport. He's deep in the game. He's an
yeah.
announcer. Like, he's a G, right? Like, he lives on my island, on my island, in Staten Island. And he's like, I was listening to his podcast, and he had this guy and this guy, and he's like, Dave, why don't you have those type of people? And I was like, I have the people that are important in my world. I was like, I could be knocking down the door for Raekwon, even though, shout out to him, he does follow our brand. So much love to him. But like,
Right,
a lot of them are so caught up in their world. They're flying here, flying there. I was like, I want to talk to people that are my people. Like you and
right.
I, we have a history. Even though
Yeah,
we've only talked maybe a dozen times or so, but I still feel connected. I'm like, yo,
absolutely.
I want to learn more about him. I've seen, and I'm like, I'm proud of him. I want to be inspired by him. So my convo with him actually inspired me a lot in a good way, because at that time I was interviewing like 90% musicians.
Yeah,
So I may have filtered it, but I filtered it in a way where it made sense to me. I was like, you know what? I should think a little bit more out the box. I do know amazing people that are not just rappers, and I could still show love to them. And
right.
like, and here we are, and it made me really want to be like, yo, let me have people that are out there doing their thing no matter what it is, not just
That's
rap.
right.
And so shout out to Big Drew for that. And so in terms of pods, I know you got something cooking.
Yeah,
Maybe you could talk about that, and where, because I know I'm excited to hear it. I love the pod with your guys. So yeah,
yeah.
maybe talk about that too.
Yeah, so our podcast is called the Men Up Podcast, and basically we exist to try and give perspective, thoughts, um, emotional intelligence to men, and not only men, but just the world around how men can help be a part of creating a more equitable, fair, just world, despite the history of being a man in the world and also in America. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that that's the gist of the show, and we spend a lot of time just really talking about issues that we think are evolving, and how men can show up in a different way than maybe what we have in the past. And so we just try to share perspective, not as experts, but just as men living lives and trying to be better each day.
So important, man, and it's so
Yeah.
important to have fellow dudes to just talk to.
Yep.
About, and I love talking about the game. Don't get me wrong, about any game, right? I love basketball. I love wrestling. But it's good to talk to a dude about how you feel,
That's right.
and then
Shout
to
out
be
to
like,
WrestleMania, by the way.
yeah, oh man, that was a dope weekend.
Was it crazy?
They did their thing. I'm really happy with the double date.
The
The
two
two
nights, right?
dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it so refreshing. and you're not like, oh, 9 hours, even though that's cool too. But
Right.
but it's that's dope, man. Just to have fellow dudes you could just chat with, talk about how you're feeling about certain things, hear their outlook. Like this pod, man, I love just talking to people, and it helps me in so many ways. And
Absolutely.
so that's amazing, bro. Shout out to all your guys on the pod. Uh, we got
Yeah, I
Shabu,
mean,
Will.
yep. They no, they're good dudes. And the funny thing, it started, we did a pod during the pandemic around the Jordan documentary. So that's actually where it started. They were like, Shabu was like, oh, I have all these guys that have been close to me throughout my life, but we're all from three different parts of his life. So Will's from his childhood. Drew was originally, who's not no longer there, but he's originally was part of it. He was from college, and then I met Christian as a dream director. So we've all become really great friends with Christian. And he was like, I have these great guys that I know. None of them know each other. We all love basketball. Let's get on this pod and create something around the Last Dance. So that's where it started, and then it just we didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
So we were just like, let's do something else. And that's what led to the Men Up podcast, and just trying to redefine masculinity and manhood in the modern era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've talked about all kinds of stuff on that pod, bro. We talked about like men and body image. We've talked about therapy. We've talked about why men have a hard time saying I love you. We've talked about well, we're getting ready to queue up like episodes on like men, cisgendered men, and transgendered men and women, and like why straight men have a hard time not all, but like have a hard time, and really society has a hard time accepting people that want to identify as a man who maybe wasn't born a man, and as a woman who wasn't born a woman. And we're going to dive into all that stuff as straight cisgendered men, and try to have the most aware and compassionate conversation that we can have, so that people are just learning and just taking a peace of mind. Because I think for me, like what I'm discovering is that there's a whole nother universe that men are listening to, called the manosphere. I don't know if you're familiar.
Nah, nah.
So the manosphere is out here, and it's kind of like made up of men that are more traditionalists and how they believe men have to show up, which is protection, providing, and character, high character, right? And if you can do those three things, and you're a high value man, that says you pretty much, you don't have to do it. Like, you just do what you want, and you should get whatever woman you want, your pick of the mill. You don't have to do anything else around the house. You don't have to be emotionally intelligent. You don't have to be any of these things. You just have to provide, protect, and have high character, which, some of those things, like, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of men do want to be those things, but also the patriarchy attached to that is like, and my partner shares this with me often, like, why is our value attached to protection and providing? Why can't we just be? And so, trying to help men deconstruct that, so they don't feel the pressure to have to make a certain amount of money or to impress people with what they have. And I think we all want to stunt a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, going back to what we said at the beginning, when you get to a certain age, how old are you?
37.
37. I'm 38. When you live the life that we've lived, and you've just done all these really unique, cool things that are like inside of the things that you wanted to do and create for yourself, you get to a point where, like, you stop caring about the money, you stop caring about chasing jobs, and you care more about the freedom that you have to do and create what you want, and then the experiences that you get to have while you're doing those things. And I think for me, that is what has become most important. And I think we just want to impart peace of mind on people, and mostly men, obviously, on like, your value doesn't have to be tied to these things, but you can just live and exist and be deserving of love and understanding and respect and being listened to, minus having to make $100,000 and drive a Benz.
Real. That's real.
You know,
I wish I kind of had these convos when I was younger. When I was
Crazy, right?
19, I was kind of floating around. I was always, and the only one I would talk to would be my partner, which at that
Mhm.
time, that person was all over the place.
Your partner as in your girlfriend?
Yeah, yeah, who I was
Oh,
dating
got
at
you.
the
Well, I
time.
thought you meant business partner.
But I never really had yeah, so like my girl at the time. And I was I got good advice, but a lot of the time it was at a time where a lot of my guys were all trying to work, get these things going, and and like there was no pods. It was just
Right.
like whatever's on TV or whatever's on cable or whatever or YouTube. We weren't really digging on YouTube that way back then.
Nah,
It was just
nah.
like a blog was a big deal. And
Of a blog, yeah, blog.
so to
When did you start your first business?
so I started I didn't realize it was a business, but when I was like 7th grade,
Okay.
I bought a CD burner and I just made mixtapes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it was just like I didn't for me it started as me wanting to have music for myself and not wanting to basically buy one from my friend for 20 bucks a pop.
Right.
I was like, yo, I'm gonna go through these 4 in a month, 5 in a month. And I was like, let me just buy a burner for 250. So I did
Right.
that. And then people like, yo, Noodles, this mix is fire, man. Like, I don't know if they said fire. They probably said, oh, this mix is fat, bro.
Right. Right. PHAT.
Let me
It's
get
just tight. It's tight.
what do you charge? And then I just charged what my friend charged me, which was like 15 for 15 songs. And of course, looking back, it was bootlegging, but it was also curating songs they never heard. I was putting people onto stuff. And I was maybe making like 50 bucks a week, 100, maybe 100 on a good week, which
That's great,
pretty good
man.
when I was 13,
For
14.
sure. That's great.
And so that was like and then I kind of kept it going. Then eventually LimeWire hit and I kind of had to pivot.
Yep.
And then I didn't really start I kind of always had these sales gigs, but I wouldn't say they were my business.
Sure.
I
Sure.
was
Sure.
working with someone. I was on my own and I've been basically no 9 to 5 since I was 19. Like I never
Exactly.
really knew what I was making. It was all based on output or
Yep.
deliverables and stuff like that.
Yep.
And and then the brand started around 2008. So we just hit our 14th year in terms
Yep.
of doing it. And then I would say it's been a real business like 7, 8 years. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna try to make this a thing. And so what about you? What about
That's the journey, bro. So I be honest, I didn't think that I would ever start a business. Like I didn't think that. What I thought was when I graduated from high school, I thought I'd like to be like the head of marketing for some company, right? That was what I thought because of my experience that I just had as a senior, kind of creating that project. And I could do this, right? So that's kind of what resulted. And so when I got to college, and this is part of the issue when there's no one really telling you to go after your dreams because at the time it was like the most practical thing to do was you go to college. You know what I mean? Like
yeah?
you just did it. And so when I got there, I got part of this internship program in college called Inroads that placed minority college students into internships. And so I got into that my freshman year. And I had internships every summer of college through that program in business, HR, human resources, and marketing. And so I did
Nice.
three summers, 4 summers in HR, and I did 1 summer in marketing. And when I graduated, I was like, oh well, I did all this work in human resources, so I guess I'm just gonna do human resources, right? Like that,
Yeah.
I did most of my work at that internship in the HR department, like doing resumes, sending resumes to hiring managers, doing pre-employment testing for the customer service jobs that they had and stuff like that. And I worked at Cox Cable, which is just a cable company and stuff. And so I was like, oh, the logical thinking is like, I'm just going to go do human resources
Yeah.
And to be honest, like once I the end of my the end of my junior year, senior year, I went to this leadership conference because I was a student body vice president at college. And so I got to go to this leadership conference in Florida. And this is where it all shifted for me. There was a guy speaking, he was doing a workshop called Get Up Off Your Butt and Do It Now. And in that workshop, he goes, what would you do for free for the rest of your life? What would you do for free for the rest of your life? And
Mm,
I was like, yo, like that's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? What would I do for free for the rest of my life? My guy, like, I just spent the last 4 years in college. I'm 40 grand in debt. Like, there ain't nothing I would do for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you
yeah.
talking about? But then I was like, oh man, that's a crazy question to ask. And I started really thinking about it while I was like in the session. And by the end of that session, I had already decided, I was like, oh, I want to do what you do. Like,
Mm,
I want to be a speaker. I want to give workshops on leadership because I was really involved in stuff like that in high school and college. You know what I mean? So I was like, but that's not a job that they promote to you. Like, you
of
don't know
course.
that exists. You don't know you
Yeah.
can go do that. So when I decided to do that, that's when I knew that, okay, I'm getting ready to start a business and it's going to be a motivational speaking company. And that started in 2008 as well.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's really cool.
My first paid gig was August 15th, 2008. And in
Right.
Kansas City was my first paid speaking engagement. And that came by way of, just like you start any other business. All right, let me look at all my contacts. Let me look at every person that's in my network. I'm email blasting all y'all to be like, yo, this is what I'm doing now, just so you know who wants to buy. And that's how I got started.
Wow. I tell people, bro, that's just being brave, and knowing what you want and being like, yo,
Yep.
this is me, and I'm owning
Yep.
who I am, and
Yep.
I'm letting you know. And if you know, that's why I always tell people your dreams. Tell people what you're doing. If you're not so busy working like with a client, or like after you build up clients and stuff, you're working with them, you're working hands on, you're
Exactly.
going to this thing. But there should be, if you don't got it all together yet in terms of having work to do, your work should be that. I always
That's
tell
the
people,
word.
tell people that you're ready to work
Yep.
and be willing to do it no matter what it is, as you said, for free.
Yep.
So you get the experience, you could get the testimonials, and you see that if it's even something that you really want to do when you're doing
That's
it.
right. That's right.
That's some real stuff right there.
I,
Good for
I
you,
tell
bro.
I tell the young people all the time, exposure is the birthplace of possibility, right? Exposure is the birthplace of possibility. And like you got to go do things. So at the very least, you can say no, that you don't like it, you don't love it, you don't want to spend your time doing it, at
Yeah.
minimum. So you got to taste things, you got to try things, you got to experience things so that you have an idea of like what it's like. And then you can have a firm no to to do that.
Real stuff. Yeah, and I'm in the artist world, so exposure has this stigma too, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
because we've earned terms. A lot of us have earned kind of the right to be like, yo, I do the logo, it's 350, like certain things, and I think it's good that people have opinions, and certain things are yes, certain things are no, and I try to tell them there's like a there's kind of like a fine line.
Right.
Like there should be the I want to do it for free, but then you got to know your limits. And it's like, if I knew people that they got invited to dance at some really big event. I don't have to shout it out, but it was so big of an event. They were very thrown off when they said, well, you're going to be here for 3 days. You're going to be practicing 10 hours a day. Then you got this, and we're not going to pay. You got to pay for your room and board. Lunch is provided, but that's it. And they
Right.
were like,
Got to decide. Yeah.
but it was one of the biggest events of the year. And it was like, and some were very jaded by it and like, nah, screw this. And then some were like, nah, I'm doing this.
Right.
I get to say that I did this. So
Right.
it's like this fine line. You got to make that decision. So
Yep.
that's amazing. You went out there, you just put yourself literally out there. So someone just wrote back to you like, "Hey, you do talking. Let me have you at our thing."
Well, so that's the thing though. Like I had a relationship with a lot of these folks because
Yeah.
I, once I decided that I didn't want to do human resources and I wanted to be a speaker, I also then I shifted careers. I shifted from corporate recruitment to student recruitment. So I was recruiting the program that I had my internship through. I actually started recruiting for them.
Mm.
And while I was recruiting students into that program, I also had to like create workshops and teach them how to like get prepared for interviews, interview skills,
Mhm.
etiquette, manners, that kind of thing. So I was in the realm of doing that. And so I had relationships with all these campuses around the Midwest because I was recruiting their students and I was talking to people on
Of
campuses pretty often. So when I sent the email, it wasn't like they didn't know who I was. I sent the
course.
email,
Yeah.
they had already had this relationship and they were like, well, oh, you can also provide this. And I said, yes. And that's where the first one came from.
No, that's real. Yeah, you
Yeah.
built up the trust. They knew they could count on you for this, and they're like, "Oh
Yeah.
wait, oh you also do this? Oh
Right.
we we trust him. He's held us down before.
Yep.
Let's have him. Oh, we got perfect.
Exactly. And that's even good advice for anybody is that like, I think people get it now, but yeah, you got to try and work your way into the industry that you want to be in and spend some time, navigating, doing another job inside of that space so that you can build up networks, build up connections, build up your social capital and your ability to say that you can follow through with the work and the tasks. And
Yeah.
then you start fishing around. Because I think now, I don't know if loyalty is a thing anymore, really. Like, I think people are pretty clear that, like, yeah, I came and got this experience, I'm moving on. And that's generally, it feels like it's okay.
Yeah. 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 No, and it's just great to hear, bro, how that evolved. And here you are, bro. You're in New York now, right?
Yes,
Like
sir.
it's not easy being here, and having a crib, having a family. Like you got to go hard. If you want even a simple life, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so you're out here, you're making dreams a reality. You're empowering youth. You're empowering even people my age and older.
Definitely.
With your coaching business,
Yep.
which is flying, and I'm really proud of you for that.
Thanks, bro.
So do you see kind of I'm trying to even put this into perspective, but like do you see, because you deal with youth and then you deal with adults,
Yep.
do you see that a lot of the things you work with when collaborating with an adult, that there were things that maybe they didn't address as kids, or it's just kind of like it's hard to like one size fits all everyone, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Everyone's so different.
well, I'll tell you this. So the way I run my coaching business is you're right. Like, right. Everyone is different, but people from our generation, I don't know if we are, man. Like, I don't know. Like, obviously, everyone is different. Everyone had different
Yeah, yeah,
experience, right? But no matter what the different experiences is, the sentiment remains the same. And so, what I'm finding from a lot of my coaching clients now, and I get a lot of like 32 to 40-year-old people that are our age. I'm getting a lot of like upper level managers, directors, presidents, vice presidents types. And what I'm hearing is we didn't grow up in the era of communicating emotions and feelings. We grew up in the era of like get over it, other people have it worse. Um, Many of us have issues getting over past traumas, like period. And
yeah.
so that is a common bond with all my coaching clients, right? And then beyond that, what I try to help people do, and this is when you were saying like every everybody's different. Everyone's different. But what gave me confidence in my coaching is that like I put everyone through the same process first, and then we get to what they want to get coached on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got my power triangle, right? The greatest version of yourself. Like that's my coaching philosophy, essentially, right? Everything that I touch when I coach is inside of those three things. And so I basically, when people come to me for whatever reason, I'm like, great, this is what you want to get coached on. Like you want to find a new career, you want to find more happiness, or you want to, quit a job or whatever the thing is. Like that's fine. We'll do that. But I'm going to put you through the power triangle first so we can pull out all the stuff, all the muck, all the trauma, all the challenges. And like, I'm not a therapist, but I went through Landmark training, and Landmark taught me a lot about how to help people break through these lifelong traumas and things that they've been holding on to forever. And so I use that skill to like help these mid 30s and early 40-year-old people like get free so that they can go be the best version of themselves. And what I'm finding is that we're getting to that era now. And I think the pandemic doubled down on it, is that people are getting to the point of my coaching philosophy, which is it's not about what you do, it's about who you want to be and how you want to show up. Because at the end of the day, like no one's going to give a shit about your job. No one doesn't care how much money you made. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. You don't even care about that stuff, because when you ask people at the end of their life what they want their legacy to be, unless they're saying they want their names on buildings and they want to sell 1 million records and they want a street sign in New York, most people aren't saying that, by the way. Unless they're saying that, most people are actually living inside of their legacy now. And so I just try to help people understand that like, whatever you thought your dreams were, like you're actually living them. And if this is all you want at the end of your life, you just want to be nice, be a happy person and have traveled some places, then you've actually won the game already. Like you've already won the game of life. Everything else is just sugar on top. And you're out here stressed because you're not getting an extra $10,000 on your salary for like, but you don't care about that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to help professionals understand, is that like, you already won. Like the game is over. You cracked the code. Like
Yeah.
if your legacy is saying that you want to live a happy life and take care of your friends and family and maybe, have some cool experiences, if that's what you're doing every day that you wake up, it's over.
Yeah.
You won. Like you won life. Now you're just enjoying it for the hell of it. You know what I mean? And everything else in the middle is just like meant to throw you off track.
Yeah.
To like stress you out and make you feel like you're not when you are. And I think a lot of people look at me and similarly, they're like, why don't you go do this? Or why don't you do one more? I'm like, bro, like I've done everything there is to do.
Yeah.
Like Dave, like I literally feel like I have done everything there is to do. If I die tomorrow, I'm good. And that's kind of where I start conversations with my coaching clients, is like, if you can't say that, then we got work to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach it.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm empowered now. Even though I'm living my thing, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
It,
And that's the thing. Like, no one's gonna care like how much money you made and what career you had. Like, most people don't even care about that themselves, and they don't see it until they can like step outside of themselves and look at their values, look at the legacy they want to leave, and they're like, oh, this fucking job that I have literally has nothing to do with anything I actually care about.
and then it's like that journey now. It's like
And now let's do the work.
Yeah, now let's do the work. You
And
understand.
that's what I coach people on.
Yeah, that's freaking fire, bro.
Yeah. And so what really helped me when I was trying to start the business and I was feeling insecure about, what am I going to coach these people on? I had to find my own formula that I trusted and believed in myself, so that I didn't have to go find people to be a part of it, but people could find themselves in it. And then I could work them from there,
Exactly. Yeah, and we're our best experiment, right? tried all these things, you've tried this, you've done this, you figured it out for yourself,
Yep.
and now it's like, well, what was my framework? Like you really did a
Yep.
deep dive on figuring out your framework and your
Yep.
your math problem to
Yep.
to solve your game.
Yep.
Then you created, and then it's like, well, we're all different in our own way, but there are certain parts of us that need this healing. We need this kind
Yep.
of talking about this,
Yep.
understanding this, knowing that it's this. And then once you could do all those things,
That's
and,
exactly
and
it,
that's
man.
like time to
And
do the work. And now let's just show up day to day.
and that's it. And then there's also like no perfect way to be. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta have grace for yourself, forgive yourself, and just try to do the best you can. I think one thing that I struggle with, and I, you know, I I got caught up in it when it was going down, like, 2008, 2009, 2010. Like Gary Vee burst on the scene and like entrepreneurship just became cool, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody wanted to be in business. Everybody wanted to grind your face off and like just work, 24/7. Like, and like I did buy into that. Like, don't get me wrong, like I was in it, but I was also like single. I was just going home and like doing my thing after work. You know what I mean? I wasn't bothering anybody. I didn't have anything going on. So I was just like, yeah, I can come home and work from like 7 p.m. till 2 p.m. trying to figure out my stuff. But I was doing all of that to be to a means to an end, which was what I knew early on, which I didn't recognize until, maybe just like, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, is that like the only reason I wanted to start this business is that so I could be doing what I'm doing now, which is choosing what I want to do and how I want to do it and having ultimate choice and flexibility. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I don't even know where, but I had it written down. It's like the only reason I want to start a business is because I'm lazy. Like I want to start my own business, so like I don't have to work as hard for somebody else. And like
Yeah.
I just want to do whatever I want. And so that has manifested itself. And like even now, luckily I'm as a speaker, I'm in a very lucrative business. Like I don't have to work my face off to make good money. So I just got lucky with the business that I'm in. And even now it's even better because I have a daughter and I just can't work like that. And you know what? I don't want to. Like I want to spend all my time with her. Like I want to
Yeah.
raise her. Like I don't want to be working 10 hours a day like most fathers. Like I'd much rather just be with her most of the time, which I am,
Yeah.
8 hours out of the day. And then I maybe work for like 2 of those hours. So like I'm really only working like 10, 12 hours a week,
That's real.
and you set all that foundation up so you can have it on the back end. Now, is my 401k empty? Yeah, pretty much. You like, is my bank account fat? Not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I got a little bit? Yes. Do I have a lot? Absolutely not. So I'm not even gonna sit here in front like I do. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I got what I need. I got food. I got shelter. I got people that love me. And as long as I got those things and I have a couple dollars to go make some trips and go do some things that I love to do, you can't tell me nothing, bro. Can't tell me nothing.
That's so real, man. That's so real. I thought of my framework and I learned it from both my parents, and I kind of learned like you have me thinking, and it's like triggering stuff that I always think about. And congrats to you, bro, by having the vision for the life that you want to live,
Yep.
and you're living it.
Right.
And I think that's just a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? And you're not feeling lack, you're not feeling left out, you're not feeling FOMO.
Nope.
You've designed your dream life and you're living it. And it's as
That's it.
simple, and it's is a lot of work to it, but it really, you made it look, you make it look simple.
Thank you.
But I know it's been decades of knowing who you are, figuring out what to do, how to puzzle those pieces, and
Yep.
then connecting the dots and just everything working and aligning for you, and then
Yeah.
owning it. And this is who I am.
Yep.
I'm gonna
It's a
show up.
grind.
Yeah.
And to that point, like, as a speaker, like it's not it's been hard. You know what I mean? Because like at the very beginning of my speaking career, like I didn't want to be like sob story speaker, right? So I never went there. Like all my speeches were like very positive, happy go lucky. Like here's how you go after your passion. And I got 5, 6, 7 years in, and I was like, I don't think I'm having the impact that I actually want to have. Something needs to change. So then I had to go get mentorship. You know what I mean? And so in 2011, I went to this program where I could get trained on how to be a better speaker. And they were like, you need to tell your story. And I was like, I don't even think I actually have a story to tell because like I grew up middle class in Nebraska. Like life's been pretty good generally. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't have this story to tell. And so I spent, another 3 or 4 years trying to like tell whatever story that I thought I had. And it started to land a little bit better, right? And I mean, like more laughs, more emotions, more of a whole well-rounded experience in my speeches. And then 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago now, I redid the whole thing again because I was like, there's another level to get to. And so it's been a journey even inside of trying to become the better speaker to like reach new levels and get better at my craft. And now I think I'm operating maybe not at my best, but like I feel very, very good about what I'm putting
Yeah.
out. And I know it's landing and hitting in ways that it wasn't 12 years ago.
Oh, and
So just yeah,
it's beautiful, and that's what pushed me to want to reach out. I've
yeah.
always been inspired by your posts, but bro, like you just kept hitting me, and I'm like, yo, this is fire. Oh, this is dope. Oh,
I appreciate it, man.
I know this vibe. And it was like I was like, yo, it was like 7 in the morning. I was like, yo, bro, if you ever want to do this convo, if you're not flying somewhere, uh, but
Yeah,
no,
we
man,
got to do it.
it's great to see, bro. It's just great to see, and I'm proud of you that you had. It's amazing just to hear how like that first thing that you did with your two friends a many years ago,
Set it off, bro.
it was just like the spark, and then it's so crazy because I feel like those moments happen. They probably happen to me, but sometimes you miss them. You're caught up in this, or
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, this is really my thing, or
Yep.
oh no, but there's this thing that I saw on TV, and I think that's my thing, and
Yep.
you could
But
have
that's
you could
why,
have completely curved it.
what we do is so important. That's why talking to the young people is so important because it's easier now than ever for them to get caught up.
Oh yeah,
Easier now than ever for them to get caught up. And they need people out there trying to remind them of who they are, or at least not even reminding them who they are, but helping them discover who they are. More importantly, and I will say this about New York City kids, like as much as New York City kids live in New York, these kids don't give a shit about nothing, bro. Like they just love being out and about in the city and just doing whatever. Like
yeah.
trying to get a New York City kid that's not at like a top private school to like join a club, like to do an after school activity is like pulling mad teeth. And I tell these kids all the time, up and down the East Coast, Jersey, same thing. I'm like, y'all come to school and you go home. You are making the biggest mistake of your life, not trying to learn how to do something, pick up a skill, learn how to create something, learn how to build something. Like, because you get done with this place and you have no idea what to do with your life because you literally came to school and went home.
Which almost trains you to have a job that does that. Which,
Right.
and I know so many amazing humans that have jobs like, and I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, you're doing what's makes sense for you. He's like, bro,
Right.
I freaking hate it.
Right.
I have to scrub floors all day. Like and I was like, well, you like cleaning. He's like, yeah, but it's not as simple as that, Dave. Like
Right.
I don't like cleaning that much, but I was like, I do it to do it. And I'm like,
Right.
and I didn't want to rub it in his face, but I was like, damn, I don't know how that feels. I was
Right.
like, I'm not by bleach and scrubbing stuff and like by these huge hot heaters that could burn my face.
Right.
Like I was like, bro, nothing but props to you, but I don't want to be like, oh, but then I'm like, yo, what I'm doing is easy, but what I'm doing is not really easy. It's
No,
weird, right? It's like this complex.
it's not, bro. And it's not for, and I
Yeah,
tell kids all the time, passion pursuit is not for everyone.
yeah.
You no, you are very special, highly skilled, highly talented in that regard. And you've always been somebody that's inspired me and just I look up to in terms of like fighting the good fight all the time, no matter what. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna die chasing your passions and doing what you love.
Which is, bro, it reminds me, bro, I gotta actually get that tattoo. It's been on my list for like 3 years now.
What's that?
And
Which one?
passion. So that
Oh, right.
it's been on my list, and it's to get it in my pop's handwriting. That's kind of like my
Nice.
tattoo thing. Like get my mom's handwriting here, my dad's tat wherever. But yeah, it's this is just like pushing it home. Like Dave, go get that.
You gotta do it. Yeah, exactly. Gotta make that happen.
Bro, it's so dope to just hear your passion. What do you tell someone to like that's you I'm sure you see this, but like people don't know where to go and they're like kind of lost. They may be distracted that there's so many things going on. A lot of kids don't have it that easy. They have to jump right to work because parent.
Yeah, they gotta grind. I understand.
Yeah, yeah, I know parents that are either ill, they're disabled. There's things that like put the kid almost at a disadvantage in terms of just having free time. A lot of them have to get right to the grind. Well, but then there's this thing eating them up. Like, yo, I want to do my passion. So I know it's kind of a loaded question, but what do you kind of tell these people any age that maybe they have a passion, they're not finding time, like
Yeah, I
kind of know
mean
it's a loaded
that's
question.
that's really it, man. I try to tell them you just got to get familiar with the language. You got that, like that's the main thing. And I think at you just got to like try things out, right? That's what I was saying earlier. Like exposure is the birthplace of possibility. Like you may not be passionate about anything, right? But you got to know what you don't like, and you got to know what you like. I was speaking on Friday at this high school in New Jersey, and I gave 4 straight speeches, and 2 of the 4 I talked to every grade. And 2 of the 4 grades that I spoke to, I asked like, "What are y'all passionate about?" And like, out of 200 kids, like 5 kids raised their hand, and I'm like, guys, I'm like, there is a level of like privilege that I have operated with throughout my life, and I didn't want to sound like unprivileged, or I didn't want to sound like I don't have any empathy for kids that are coming from situations that require them to go work right away and contribute to the family. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got that. And you still got things that you love and care about. You still got time. You still got a cell phone, right? Most of them still got cell phones, right? Most of them still spend time on the internet. They be online, they be on IG, they be on TikTok. You can't tell me that these kids don't know what they love, right? But what they don't get is the space to share what they love and to
Mhm.
talk about what they're passionate about. So they have to be able to get familiar with the language and be in environments that facilitate that language, or at least
Mm.
be around people that want to do the same thing that they want to do so they can build together, as opposed to being around other people that don't give a shit about rapping. You need to put yourself around the 5 kids in your school that want to rap so y'all can go do it.
I love it.
So that's what I would say for the young people is like put yourself around people that like the same things that you do. And like you said, which is great advice, share your dreams so that you can get connected to those people. And so for the young people, that's what they need to do. I think for the older folk, um, I think I think for them, it is just who they want to be in terms of their values and their legacy. But I think more importantly, I think adults have to decide what is their like what's happy to them, and then work backwards from there. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to
Yeah.
decide, what kind of life do I want to live? Where do I want to go? What kind of things do I want to do? And if that means like sacrificing my passion to go work this job that makes 120,000, then so be it. Go do that.
Yeah.
But if it's not, and you want to like care more about work that you love and care about and make less money, then you need to go do that too. And so, like I said, I'm just finding a lot of people that are in that crossroads now, and
Mm.
a lot of them just got woken up by the pandemic. And just like anything else, right? Like you don't know you feel a certain way, or you don't know you need something until it gets thrown in your face, or you won't change your behavior until something bad happens, right?
Yeah.
Like you won't stop drinking and driving until you get a DUI.
You have
It's
to
the same.
feel it. You have to like,
Yeah, like something has
it
to happen
sucks
to
that you have
you.
to learn the lesson the hard way
Yeah, something has to
most of the
happen until
time.
you be like, oh, this is not working for me. Let me go do something else. And so I feel that way about jobs. Like
Yeah.
you have to hit rock bottom before you're like, oh, I need to make a change. Not everybody, but a lot of people do, because they get so used to, like, they get in their comfort zone, or for a lot of people, they had an idea of what they were supposed to do for their life in their head. And when that thing is no longer the thing, they're like rocked. So being
Yeah.
able to adapt and be ready for change as well is important for them too.
It's that's powerful, bro.
I think your dad did it. Like what your dad did and what you shared at the beginning is also another thing that they can do. How do you piece together this career that involves all of your passions, that allows you to get paid to do the work that you love, right?
Yeah.
And how can you piece together this project and doing some music gigs and doing some speaking engagements and writing your book and doing online business, like doing all these real estate, right? Doing all these different things that allow you the time and freedom to like actually do the things that you want. And so instead of like relying on the career so heavily, relying on your passion to tap into the different areas of your life and figure out, okay, how can I get paid to do these things that I love and care about? And then how can those things add up to be enough to pay for your life?
That's real. Yeah, my dad is he's definitely one of one, man. Like he went to university in Miami, which is super party school, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Dad." He was like, "Well, most of the time, David, I was just practicing." And I was like, "Dad, you're rare, man."
yeah, yeah,
I know a lot of people that would have got kicked out of that school.
absolutely.
And so it's like it's these choices we make, right? And he made that choice. He's like, "Yo, I'm locked in." And that
Yep.
it kept him safe that he was locked in um, mentally to what he was doing, and he he had this discipline about him that's so hard to find.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the beauty of discovering your passion when you're
Yeah.
younger, is that you can get tunnel vision when you're locked in.
Yeah.
You won't get pulled out or distracted. Because when you found that thing that you love, you will focus on it, and it can keep you from getting distracted and pulled into stuff that you don't want, and it can also pull you out of the dark times that you have as well. And that's actually what I share with a lot of young people, is like it's important for you to find this passion, because when you don't have anything else and you feel like it's all lost and there's like, why is all these negative things happening to you, you have this one thing that you can latch onto and try and keep you going.
Yeah, man. Bro, I'm empowered. I I'm
Word.
I'm very I'm very happy that all these kids get to meet you. I wish I met you at a younger age, and
Word.
I had a Lamarr Womble coming to my school when I was 10.
And that is
Uh,
crazy to think, right? Like we, I wish I did too. I just got lucky and found some great opportunities, programs, and mentors, and took advantage of the resources when they were provided to me. And a lot of kids don't, because they want to be cool, so they don't take advantage of the things that are right in front of them.
yeah. Yeah, man, I I feel like there's so many quotables. I always say be the person you wish you had in your life growing up.
Mm,
And you're that for the
mm,
youth, for people your age, older, whatever it is, like,
yeah,
and that's who I try to be every day,
every day.
and that's how I live. And it's like
That's it.
I kind of wish I had an older brother, because growing up, as I said, my dad was locked in. He wasn't the most emotional kind of guy. Like, David, let's
Well,
talk about this. And I'm kind of the person that needs to talk about stuff. And it was tough. Like, you couldn't talk to your mom all the time. So, like,
right.
I feel like I've become that person
Yeah.
that I kind of needed, even though I had so many amazing people. But like, and here you are, bro. Like, you just you figured it out. and you just didn't let anything stop you.
Yeah.
You had people on who backed you up. You had an amazing, you said it, pops that just, inspired you. You saw him kind of bumping into the wall, doing this. He had a very focused mindset, and
Yeah.
I
And,
see
and
that
me
it's
and my
carried
pops
on.
had me and my dad had a tumultuous relationship too.
Yeah,
Like I mean, we didn't talk for. I mean, he was around, like they were together, my parents and all that, but like we didn't really talk. Like
yeah,
it wasn't a great relationship for many years. And I had to, as I share this with the kids, like I had to really take a step back to see what he brought to my life because I was mad at him for a long time.
mm.
Mad at him for a long time. So yeah,
And bro, like here you are. You've designed a life that's a dream life for you.
yeah,
And if
exactly.
you
That's
know,
the key.
if I've taken so many gems, and I know the audience has as well. But if I've taken anything, it's like figure out what your dream life is, and then work backwards.
Yep,
You know what I mean? Like you
exactly.
grew up and you were like, oh, I want to be there for, I want to be have a lot of time with my child. I may
Yep,
sacrifice a little bit of this, maybe on the money side, but I'm going to do everything I can to have that balance where I'm not missing special moments in her life. I could be part of her growing,
yep.
and I'm going to do the thing that I know is my thing.
Right.
I'm going to,
And you know what it is? You know what it is, Noodles, too? Is like, and I think this is good for you to hear and for anybody else. Like when you want to scale back, you gotta make more for doing less. And so the bottom line is you gotta raise your prices.
yeah,
Period. Right. Like, and so I was like, well, if I want to make this money for doing less work, I got to scale up the price of my keynote speech. I got to scale up the price of my coaching. I got to scale up. And so prices are just like every year, Fat Joe said it. Fat Joe said it. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Like price went up.
and bro, the value is one up too. So,
Yep.
you've lived these new experiences, you're able to bring so much more value. Prices of everything have gone up,
Yep.
including many of our salaries. Not
Yep.
all, but hopefully.
Yep.
It only makes sense, and
Makes sense.
I'm proud of you, bro, just to meet you that day with the dream directors. You were really one of them. All of them left a mark on me in one way, but
Yeah.
just the passion, the way you've when I think of you, bro, passion, just you don't even have to say it. I already know it. But then
I
you say
appreciate it,
it,
man.
and then you leave the mark even further. So like
Yeah.
I'm just proud of you, bro, just to see the growth, to hear about, you with your family, you being like, you know what, I want to be here with her 8 hours a day. And I'm gonna do this. And oh, I need to do it this way. All right, I'm gonna adjust a few things. My
Yep.
price a little hit here. I'm gonna do this. Bro, this is very valuable stuff. So bro, I'm really happy to have you on this show.
Thank
Um
you, man. Been a pleasure chatting with you. And I mean, I knew it was going to be this way because I know we see eye to eye on a lot of things. So
yeah,
I figured we'd be riffing and going back and forth about just like the things that we believe in and how we try to live our lives. So yeah, thank you for having me. And I think we're definitely going to get you on the Men Up podcast talking about masculinity and manhood
I
because
would
I
love
think
that.
what you were alluding to is like things that we love to talk about is like, well, what was it like for you coming up and not being able to share with your mom some of these things, but like your dad not being able to connect with you on that thing? What do you do? How do you work through that? How do you show up with that? Right? Those are the types of things that we want to talk about. So,
Yeah, I love it.
and obviously, like you are who you are. So, it'd be dope to have you on.
I would love that. I would love that. So, for anyone tuned in, and if you made it this far with us, yo, make sure to connect with my dude. His website is lamarrwomble.com. That's
Yeah,
LamarrWomble.com.
yeah,
And my guy got a book coming out. He got the Men Up podcast. He's probably going to be in your neighborhood sometime this year talking, no matter what state you're in.
yeah,
So make sure to connect with him. If you need fuel and you forgot to eat, you forgot to have your coffee, just go on my guy's social media. He will light you up. And even of course, if you need even more help, I don't know how booked he is, but he does do the life coaching, and he's empowering people on a day-to-day basis.
I'm booking. I got space. I'm looking for like three more clients take on. So yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for more. So yeah, man, appreciate all that shout and love. And if anybody does want to follow on social media, just at Lamarr Womble on all platforms as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it all down in the description. And brother, keep up the amazing work. I can't wait to have you back whenever it is, and just hear about all the new things you've done. And I'm really proud to see you like this as a dad, living your dreams. Because some
Thank
people
you.
have to pivot. They're like, oh no, I got to go back to the job thing. You know what I
Nah,
mean? Like, but with you, I had no doubts. And like, to hear that you're spending this much time with the fam, you're being this effective, and you have this you have your vision for your life, bro, and
yeah.
it's
Listen, man,
beautiful to see.
the number one value I have is community. Friends and family is second. Community is three. And I think
Yeah.
when I think about those three things, and then the fourth is experiences. When I think about those four things, like none of those have anything to do with business, not a one of them. And so I cannot wake up every day and give business my full undivided attention, because the things I care about the most have nothing to do with it. And so I'm more consistently focused on freedom, getting free, and trying to figure out other ways to make money without having to work hard. Trying to spend time with my family and my friends, because I spend most of my time like on damn group chats, because I love texting with my friends all day.
Yeah.
And I love building community, and like I'm planning my high school reunion right now. That's this summer. Like I love doing stuff like that, because like that's what I really care about. So
Yeah.
my days are like, yeah, I do my work, but like I spend my days doing other things that just make me happy, because luckily I have a little bit of that freedom and flexibility to be able to do that. So I just want everyone to get free, and by any means necessary, get free, so that you can work and do all these things that you love and care about as well.
Yo, man. Fire. Absolute fire. And
Word up. All right.
yeah, man. So you're always welcome back. For anyone tuned in, make sure to subscribe. We're on YouTube every week on your favorite podcast platform. We're also on Make a Park Radio with the hip hop edition once a month with my guy DJ Shame. And then we got a freestyle brought to you by True and Living. So I'm just grateful to be able to talk to dreamers every week now. And make sure to connect so you could hear the stories of them. There's so many gems that you could just apply to your day-to-day grind and your dreams and passion. I know today I could probably do like a quotable book with like with like coloring pages and different stuff, just
Oh, wow.
all the gems, just if I just take a few sentences from each paragraph. So bro, keep up
Word.
the amazing work. You're always welcome back.
Thank you, bro. You
And
as
you always
well.
got my support.
Thank you.